Hi, it's Psychic Cynthia here, and welcome to you, my fellow cosmic travelers and seekers of the higher path, the higher light. I want to talk with you about the current world situation, especially the turmoil and upheaval and all that we're experiencing in the United States right now, and especially in terms of the astrology of Pluto in Aquarius. So this is relating to the vibes of Pluto in Aquarius, and really what is happening is related to the vibes of Pluto in Aquarius. And in case you haven't heard yet, Pluto has now solidly entered Aquarius. You know, we had a year or two where it was sort of vacillating back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn, but it is definitely solidly into that now. And Pluto moves really slow, so its transits are world shaping, okay? And it has an erratic orbit, so when I say really slow, it's just hard to say how many years it spends in a sign because it depends on the sign and the time. But let me put it this way. Right now, in February 2025, Pluto is in Aquarius. It's in the early degrees, and it will remain in Aquarius until, 18 years. Okay, 18 years. I think that's 2043. So we're at the beginning of or in the midst of an 18-year cycle. So I wanted to talk some and really speak to your heart, because I know there's a lot of you who are concerned about the turmoil, the upheaval, the turbulence that is happening right now in the American scene, and especially the political scene. And and I know some people. I live in a conservative part of the country, so I do know some people who are feeling quite hopeful about the changes. I know a lot of others who are very concerned and worried and fearful, and there are a lot of people right now that feel like the whole world is going to be over because of what's happening. And in a way, you're not wrong, because the old world is going to be over. And that's the way Pluto works, okay? Pluto destroys the old to make room for the new. And sometimes we don't want that destruction. I think never. I mean, it's human nature. We don't welcome change, especially on a massive level. Or maybe let me put it this way. The enlightened individual might welcome change, might be open to it. In fact, a person on a path of higher spiritual consciousness might even try to instigate change in their lives. But it's just human nature. I think it's a biological instinct. We resist change because maybe it helps in survival, or we think. And of course, not all changes are viewed as good. Actually, an old minister friend of mine, or a former minister friend of mine is what I'm trying to say, once did a sermon about change, and in that he talked about how, in his opinion, all change is experienced as loss. And I think that's true on a fundamental feeling level. Even when quote-unquote good things happen in our lives, even when expansive things happen in our lives or in society, we mourn the loss of the old. And, all the more would we mourn the loss of the old in our lives if we feel like the good coming in isn't even better. So, and by the way, I'm not saying is it better or is it not, because as you'll see, as you'll hear if you listen to the rest of this video, it's very hard to put it into context right now. It's very hard for us to realize and recognize the validity and the value of the changes that are happening, or to even know what they are going to be long term, because again, this is an 18-year cycle, and it will truly only be on the other side of that 18 years that we'll really begin to see things ironing out and solidifying into the new. Okay, so I want to preface with that. And listen, if you're freaking out about the changes, as I think many of us either are or have been, take a beat for a moment. Let's take a few deep breaths in And, you know, one of the messages that my guides gave me this morning for people, you know, because I've been getting messages, not guide messages, but, you know, messages from clients and stuff who are freaking out asking for guidance. And listen, I'm not a political strategist. I'm a spiritualist. You know, I'm a person who watches and observes the cosmic patterns. So I don't give political advice, but I can give spiritual advice. And also, I can help you understand the cosmic patterns at play. And remember that the cosmic laws, they are what we'd call neutral, okay? And they don't care about our feelings. I mean, not to sound rough or anything, but I mean, it's about nature and the cosmos unfolding for growth. And sometimes that gets very messy, all right? So anyway, take a breath. And one thing my guides told me, and you can watch that video if you want to hear more of that message, but just to let you know, they reminded me that human beings are very resilient, that we have faced times of rapid, extreme, intense, accelerated change before in the past, and we have survived. And so we will survive in one form or the other. I mean, I know some people worry about extinction. Others worry about the blending of the human form with AI. All of these are possible, but one way or the other, the human spirit will survive, even if it's in another new form. Okay, so don't lose sight of that humans are resilient, and, you know, let that be your hope, okay? So let's just take a beat. Let's take a few deep breaths in here together. Now let's talk some about this Pluto and Aquarius transit in terms of what to expect. And just front loading it here, again, you can expect there to continue to be rapid, accelerated, intense change of an unprecedented nature. Well, I say unprecedented, as we're going to discuss in a few minutes here. It's not completely unprecedented, not the rate of change, because Pluto has visited Aquarius before, okay? And we can look at history and we can see what has happened during those times to give us an idea of the framework of how Pluto and Aquarius operates. But, you know, one thing to understand is, okay, first of all, understanding Pluto. Pluto, by the way, was very active in terms of transits in the year 2020. And I will say, I was one of the few people who talked about, I mean, I let people know, I'm not a negative person, but I said this will be intense and it will not be easy. And I even called it, you know, I said at the beginning of 2020, I said this will be like a Ragnarok year. Now, I did not know how true that was going to be, how true it ended up being. But I'm just saying a lot of people tend to gloss over these larger scale Pluto transits, or they go the opposite. And they, you know, they make it sound worse than what it is. So what I'm aiming for here is just looking at the cosmic template and as much as possible trying to step up into that higher perspective, step away from my own personal preferences. It's not easy, okay? You know, I'm human just like you. I have my own ideas about how the world should be, how things should be. But then I do understand and I value cosmic principles. So that's what we're looking at here because, you know, again, they operate according to a different type of energy. I do believe our energy can influence these transits, but it doesn't override them. Okay, so with that in mind, Pluto is a planetary energy, a cosmic energy, let's say, that is very much a catalyst. Some people might say it's catalytic, okay, or it brings on cataclysms. I don't think so, not always, but it is a catalyst. You know, it is, it fuels rapid change often, or it definitely fuels profound change, deep change. And, you know, the thing to remember when Pluto is transits are happening on a larger level like this. And there can be a lot of devastation, okay? Pluto is known to be the Metamorphosis planet, the transformer. But in order to have transformation, there must be a cleaning out, a clearing, a purification, and sometimes devastation. Deep level cleansing. That is normal and natural with Pluto cycles. It's not easy. It doesn't make it any easier just because, it's normal and natural doesn't make it easy. We've been in winter here where I live out in the Midwest, actually the center of the country, and it's been very cold, maybe even colder than usual. Now, today it's not. Today it's got warm, thank goodness, but it's been so cold. But it gets cold here in winter. That's natural. It's still not easy, okay? So just think of that metaphor. There are times that happen that aren't easy, but they are part of a larger plan that is unfolding. So Pluto is doing what Pluto does. Pluto is coming in and it has entered a new sign. It is very firmly, I think we're at 2 degrees Aquarius, so we're early on in Aquarius, but it's doing what it does early on in a sign. It's, cleansing things out, clearing them out, destroying the old. And so we see a lot of, devastation happening, not just on the political, but in terms of we've had, wild, or well, I don't even know if they were just wild, the fires in California, just different things, okay? I don't want to go into every negative news story you hear, but you know what I'm saying. And Pluto in Aquarius is a very strong energy because Aquarius is very strong in terms of being a fixed energy. It is one of the fixed signs. So when Pluto gets in there with Aquarius, it's a very intense energy. And Aquarius is a fixed air sign, and it concerns itself primarily with, like all air signs, there is an emphasis on communication. But Aquarius especially looks at societies and groups and societal structures, larger groups. And it is primarily concerned with this ideal in one form or the other, whether it's political, religious, or societal. Aquarius is looking for the good of the whole, the larger big picture. Now, what is good for the whole is not always good for an individual. And I know a lot of people think of Aquarius as this, hippie humanitarian sign. It is, I believe it thinks of itself as a humanitarian sign. But, there's different ideas because the thing is, Aquarius is a very ideologically motivated sign, like all air signs, but especially Aquarius is very fixed in its ideologies, okay? In other words, there is a wedding, a loyalty, an intense devotion to ideology, ideas, philosophies. The French Revolution took place during Pluto in Aquarius. People are willing to live and die for their ideologies when Pluto is in Aquarius. And society is redefined by that. So it's tough. It's tough. It is by nature a time of extremism. That doesn't mean we all have to be that way. And of course, that's one of the reasons I'm, putting this information out here so we can take a beat, so we can become conscious of the cosmic influences that are pouring down upon us. And perhaps we can just become more conscious of our behaviors, because it's really different when these energies are flowing into a society or civilization that is more conscious and aware. We could have a better outcome, in other words, if we're more conscious and aware, and if we stop and think, oh, okay, a lot of people right now are polarized around their ideologies and their ideas and their beliefs. How can we work through this? You understand? Instead of people who are not very conscious and aware and they're just stuck in the conflict and they're all worked up, if they're not thinking about higher outcomes, violence could result. And if not actual physical violence, certainly you see the divisiveness we have right now, the way people are ripping apart in their relationships. Some people. Now, it might not be you, and if it's not, dear one, that is wonderful. But here in the United States, where I'm filming from, there are a lot of people that are very inflamed. I'm going to call it heart chakra inflamed. And, you know, there's a lot of divisiveness around these ideologies, which I would expect there to be with Pluto newly in Aquarius. So, yes, this is the time where there's going to be a complete major overhaul of societal structures, of the way things are done. And one of the things that we can see when Pluto has been in Aquarius in the past is that the way things have always been done, that often gets overthrown very quickly, very rapidly. Even maybe some of the way things have always been done that seems good. It might seem holy or sacred. Aquarius is a populist sign. And if you don't know what I mean by that, you might do a little dive into populist politics and kind of learn more about that. But basically, you know, populist is power to the people, to the common person. And again, in, you know, the late 1700s was one of the times that Pluto was in Aquarius. And that was when we had the French Revolution. It's also when they had the Reign of Terror. So what happens a lot of times during, you know, when Pluto in Aquarius is activated, you have people who are oppressed or feel they are oppressed, rising up against the people they feel they are oppressing, or oppressed by, overthrowing their quote-unquote oppressors. But then unfortunately, there is a tendency, it's a human tendency for the people who rose up to become the new oppressors. And that's what happened in the Reign of Terror. And if you don't know what that is, just Google that 1700s Reign of Terror, or you do your homework, okay? You should know that if you studied history, but if you don't, that's okay. You'll figure it out. Now, another time previously when Pluto was in Aquarius was a little bit later on, and, was that earlier on? Yeah, earlier on. And when King Henry in England broke with the church, he basically established the Church of England. Well, first he crowned himself king of the church, okay? Because he wanted to get another wife because his wife wasn't giving him male heirs. And he wanted to get his marriage annulled, and the church wasn't having any of that. So he was like, screw it, I'm going to make myself king of the church. Does that sound familiar? You know, these laws won't let me do what I want to do. Well, I'm going to find a way around it. And that was so scandalous at the time. I mean, I must be having past life memory here, but I think even by looking at historical records, if you were to look into that, you might understand. That was really scandalous for a king to declare himself, you know, head of the church. And then, you know, he's going to annul his divorce without, or annul, you know, get a divorce basically without approval from the church. Yeah, from the other church. Listen, I'm no fan of, like, you know, organized religion. I don't hate it, but I'm not, I know that it can oppress us in many ways, but yeah, this is what happened. And essentially, the Church of England became like the church and the state were one. So think about that. Like here in America, we don't have that same thing. So yeah, it's so different. But it was quite the controversy is what I'm saying. There's a lot of controversy that comes with Pluto and Aquarius. So if you turn on the news, which I really don't recommend much, okay, I know it's hard to escape it, and with these quote-unquote smartphones, I think they ought to be called anxiety phones sometimes because they just, you know, all the information coming through and having to be constantly available can add to anxiety. So here's a tip for you, you know, especially with Pluto and Aquarius. I haven't even covered the tech part. Everybody's talking about the tech part, though. Aquarius is a tech sign, so we're going to see rapid changes in the role of technology, and you already probably know that. Maybe now more than ever, cultivating the ability to step back from technology for a few minutes or a few hours, or if you can do it, a few days. It might be just what you need for your mental health, for your spiritual health, okay? I'm going to say that, and I don't know how you would live in this modern world without technology. Well, I do. I can visualize how you would live in it, but you wouldn't participate in the modern, communications. So, and I don't know, maybe there'll be more people stepping out of that, but it looks like as a species, we're going to be moving deeper into the technology. And I know some of you don't like that. Remember the universal laws, they don't care what we like or don't like. It's moving forward. I mean, is it progress? I don't know, but it's the movement. It's the way things are moving with Pluto and Aquarius. So what you can do with all this, that's coming down with, these, because the thing is, I've given you some historical instances of Pluto and Aquarius because I want you to tune into the archetypes of this energy, because that's what it is. This is like Pluto in Aquarius is an archetype that resurfaces, every so many hundred years. And we have these similar patterns, these energy patterns again. And realizing it's part of a larger cycle may help you to get through it in your own life. Also, realizing we cannot stop the cosmos. But then we do get to determine how we respond to the energies as individuals. And so that part's really important. Even though with Pluto and Aquarius, if you look historically, almost every time, there was maybe one exception that I know of in written history, and that was during the Renaissance time in the Arabian world, actually, in the Middle East, so where people were welcomed scholars. So I don't know, that was nice. We could have some of that. We could have a resurgence of new knowledge. That's possible. But with Pluto in Aquarius, there's always this counterpart where, thought control. People want to control others' thoughts, say what other people are allowed to think, what other people are allowed to say. The council in Nicaea, which is, part of what determined what books we would have in the Christian Bible and how Christianity would be defined, that was held during a Pluto and Aquarius transit. And by the way, there were people who protested against that at that time. They said, hey, we think of this as differently. I'm not sure that it went very well for them, but they did. So there's always voices of dissident, but do be aware that, I guess what I'm saying is there is a tendency when Pluto is in Aquarius to try to quell dissonance and, to try to control others' thoughts, and that never goes anywhere good, okay? It never goes anywhere good, and it simply plants the seeds of future conflicts. So that's something to think about in your own life. Listen, you can't fix all of international politics. I mean, unless you're a diplomat, and even then, you can't fix all of it. You can only do your own little part. But you can control, influence, decide what you do in your own life. So, if you're getting into thought control, the only thought control anybody needs to be in my opinion, is control of your own thoughts, not somebody else's. And that's where Pluto and Aquarius can go very dark, because the moment we, as individuals, as cities, as states, as countries, the moment we step outside of, anything beyond dealing with our own thoughts, trying to control it, we can work with that. I don't even know, how good are you at controlling your own thoughts? I don't know, I might give myself a 7 on a good day, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10. So that alone is difficult enough, and I don't even know if it's that important to control your own thoughts. It's more like controlling your ability to respond intelligently to those thoughts. Or I like to question my thoughts, like, and just not react to them right away, okay? Yeah, give them time. So, maybe even controlling our own thoughts isn't the wisest, but I could see some benefit. I mean, especially if you get caught on a mental track that is not positive or not helpful for you. But yeah, don't try to control other people's thoughts in your lives. You won't win that battle, and you're going to hurt a lot of people in the process, including yourself and your relationships. And that's what will happen, in society when we try to control other people's thoughts. We try to make them believe a certain way. Now, the higher vibration of this Pluto and Aquarius energy can be a path of intellectual discourse and sharing, and actually caring to communicate, caring to share ideas, listening without an agenda. That would be a really high vibration of this energy. I'm not saying that we're all going to get to it, but why not aim for that, okay? It's something to aim for. And then, of course, if you feel led in your spirit, in your heart, to, take up a cause in a certain way, especially a cause that is loving, that is kind, that truly benefits others without harming them. If you feel that calling, if there's a way you can bring hope, if there's a way you can bring service to humanity, or, we don't have to make it so big as all of humanity. Maybe it's just your family. Maybe it's your neighborhood, or your community center, or your state, or whatever level. So for some of you, it's going to be a higher level, but that's a good place to focus this energy. Any worry or fear you have, any turbulence you're sensing, focus it on being present, offering hope, encouraging others. I was going to say helping others. I have mixed feelings about that phrase. Sometimes when we say we're helping others, we aren't really trying to help others. So it's cool, though, if you're actually helping others. I think if we think it more as collaborating with others and helping themselves, or encouraging others to help themselves, maybe even providing resources where they can help themselves. Yeah, that's a better way to go. Because sometimes when we're trying to, quote unquote, help others, we're really just trying to force or direct them onto a path that we think they should go. And that's not help. That's manipulation. That's coercion. That is thought control. Please refrain from that if you wish to feel peace inside, if you wish to have positive relationships. Of course, it's up to you. I mean, your path is your path, and you have to choose what you want in this life. But, as one of my teachers used to say, some people like to do it the hard way. Some people like to learn the hard way. So do you want to learn the hard way or the easy way? That's up to you. It's much more gentler and easier to offer love and support, hope, assistance in a spirit of collaboration rather than control. That's what I'm saying here. Okay. Well, I hope you found this video helpful, and yeah, take a beat. Try to, tune into your own inner heart and find your grounding in these times. I know there's a lot that's uncertain right now. We are in a time of massive transformation. That should not only apply to the society, though, it's also an opportunity for you to transform inside. So maybe take some of that energy that you've been utilizing worrying about the world and turn that inward and make a plan for how you want to transform your own self, your own beliefs, your own higher aspirations and callings. I mean, Aquarius in its highest form is a very high-minded, dream-minded sign, looking at the aspirations. So maybe you can do that for yourself, or help somebody in your life in their aspirations or dreams. Alrighty, until next time, I'm wishing you much love and much blessings. Bye.